Enormous giant of our friend.
Enormous
Of our friend.
enormous
Of our friend. I'll look at you and you tell me when to stop.
Yeah, I'll sleep.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, we welcome you here to Akazi. My name is Jumbe Sebunya. Many of you have already met me, and today is a special occasion for us. Oh, sorry, guys. Today is a special day for us, and I would like to introduce my wife and co-founder of Akazi to say a few welcome words and acknowledgement of this great man we have. Look over there.
Okay. Welcome and good afternoon also from me. My name is Anya Sabunya. So Jumbe and I, we are Akazi here and we run and own this art gallery. I don't think I need to talk a lot about the stature of the man whose life we're celebrating today. He lived a life of conviction and courage unwaveringly. He was a poet, a writer, a playwright, a visionary, a prophet, and a soothsayer for people across the global south and beyond. So he was all of those things and more. The first time Professor Ngũgĩ came to Akazi, he was brought by his daughter Wanjiku. And Jumbe and I, we were completely in awe and dumbstruck, and we whispered to each other, "Is that who we think it is?" And indeed it was. It was Professor. And he lit up the room that time and all the other times he came. It was wonderful and amazing and always an honor to have him. I personally first encountered Professor's work in the 1980s when Jumbe and I lived in the wilds of northern Uganda at the border of southern Sudan. And we had to flee on the heels of yet another Ugandan conflict and war. And like many Ugandans, we sought refuge in Nairobi, which was wonderful and welcoming, but also very confusing. Nairobi is a huge city that has lived through so many different histories, and it has produced a city that was riven by divisions of ethnic background, race, religion, class. And I was struggling to find my way in this city as a white woman and part of a biracial and bicultural couple. And I stumbled on Professor's early works, A Grain of Wheat, Petals of Blood, The River Between, and I devoured them. And slowly, Nairobi and the country sort of pulled into focus for me. And I began to understand how it had developed this city, this feeling, and this country. Long story short, we're here this afternoon. We're immensely humbled and honored for the Ngũgĩ family to have chosen Akazi as the venue for Professor's memorial in Georgia. Our gallery's name, Akazi, is intentional. A is Atlanta, and Kazi is work in Swahili. So we try to do the work of showing the immense talent from the continent here in Atlanta. And it culminates in moments like these that are priceless. And again, thank you so much to the Ngũgĩ family. Welcome to all his friends, collaborators, clients, contributors, followers, and I'll just say karibuni on behalf of Akazi. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. And please, can we have your telephones off, or if possible? That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nyabura Sullivan.
Good afternoon. My name is Nyapra Adosho, and we will be your hosts this afternoon as we celebrate our Ngũgĩ.
We have poetry, dance, music, soundbath, and drums. All the things that Ngũgĩ loved.
We will open today's program with one of Ngũgĩ's quotes. For I had reached a point in my life where I came to view words differently. A close look at language could reveal the secret of life. From Wizard of the Crow.
We will share more as we move along the program. We will now observe a moment of silence as Kwame Gay joins us on stage with Ngũgĩ's favorite song, Wene Yaga.
Good afternoon, everyone. Muriega. My name is Kwame again. I'm happy to be here. When I came to the US 8 months ago, I came because Mwalimu Ngũgĩ wanted to hear me sing Mwenenyaga, and I did come. And I've been singing this song to him for as many times as he requested. Agikuyu, from where Mwalimu comes from. Mwenenyaga means the highest point where we face when we seek light, when we seek redemption, when we seek truth. Mwenenyaga is that place. Your maker, your God, your whatever you believe in, Mwenenyaga is that place where you face. So I'll do this song one more time for him and for us as a reminder that weka weka, do good. Goodness is the price. The reward is how you do it. Mwenenyaga talk about it. Ngai mwega utangĩkĩrĩka, mwamũkĩri magongona mathwai, Ngai ũrĩ mbere tũtingĩhotwo nĩ Mwenenyaga twakũhoya, tuoyaga wendani na gĩtĩo. Ona tha nyingĩ Oiguano wakoyona twakuhoya tukonana tuigothe kumangongu nginya kari matura hĩndĩ ĩyo kĩragĩra njamba cia ita na cia nyaitũ kamatimũĩ wagĩro kombo njamba cia ita yarũĩra twatigĩirwo nĩ gĩkũyũ na mũmbi mwene nyagama nowe twakuhoya tukonana tuigothe kuma gĩtogothi nginya thĩ yothe hĩndĩ teno kĩeha gũtirĩ mwene twakuhoya Ngai mwega we mũtangĩri wa ita ũmwamũkĩri magongona maitũ airũ Ngai ũrĩ mbere tũtingĩhotwo nĩ thũ mwene nyaga twakuhoya we Ngai Ngai wa maithe maitũ Ngai mwene nyaga we Ngai Ngai Tuliamudi.
We would now like to welcome Dr. Jesse Benjamin from Kennesaw State University to the stage.
I have a passage from Wizard of the Crow, and I just start by saying Shikamo Mzee, Shikamo Mwalimu. It's our Swahili greeting. The passage reads, why does needy Africa continue to let its wealth meet the needs of those outside its borders, and then follow behind with hands outstretched for a loan of the very wealth it let go? How did we arrive at this? That the best leader is the one that knows how to beg for a share of what he has already given away at the price of a broken tool. Where is the future of Africa? Thank you.
My name is Ngũgĩ. I have another quote. I have become a language warrior. I want to join all those others in the world who are fighting for marginalized Languages are like musical instruments. You don't say, let them be a few global instruments, or let there be only one type of voice. All singers can sing. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Sheila.
Dr. Githao, editor of Diaspora Times, will read from The Perfect Nine, the epic of Ngũgĩ and Ngũgĩ.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Ngũgĩ. I'm the director and the publisher of the newspaper, two newspapers, the Diaspora Times and Ngũgĩ. The Diaspora Times is the one I started first, and then when we started discussing with Ngũgĩ, that was in 2018, I started writing Ngũgĩ, and Mwalimu was like the contributor in every article. He has written so many articles at Ngũgĩ in form of poems, and he was writing until the last minute. I mean, he could send me a poem every week. The Diaspora Times also, he was fond of it, and on Sunday is the time he called me on Sunday, probably the day before he got sick, and he wanted me to feature one. He was so excited because one of his daughter, Moby, had been called to the bar in California. I've never met her, so the Diaspora Times will feature her when we do the next feature, or after she finished, writing. I don't know if there's something to do. What am I reading?
Okay.
Oh, from the book? Okay, before. From the book. Yeah, so, no. What I'm going to read is from the book Kedamuyuru.
In the meantime, you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, before there's something I wanted, it won't take long. Before I read the Kedamuyuru, I must say there's something we were doing with Ngũgĩ the last many days, and he was translating his book, Weep Not Child, which he wrote in 1964. And when we were writing the Kikuyu, he came across one of my Kikuyu poems, and I must say I'll be honored in that book when it's published, because he picked a poem from my Kikuyu poem called Danuko Shiamita Hato. It's just a small verse, and I can read in Kikuyu. Tiga kolera mwana wito. Tiga kolera mwana wito. Maito muremi ne aroka na marigo ma mitahato na oshoro. Tiga kolera gutire otuko utakeaga and then he wrote gacunjĩ kuma irebeta rĩa gĩtaũ mũtaũri ndanuko cia mĩtahano. Ke tũgĩthome ibuku rĩrĩ rĩa Gĩkũyũ na Mũmbi Kenda Mũiyũru. Gĩkũyũ akiuga, rĩu nĩ mũrona mbuĩ nĩ ciahumbĩra kĩongo, ona mĩgambo itũ nĩ yagire hinya. Guoko gũtingĩikia itimũ kana kũrũmie rũhiũ. Maitho matingĩona gĩthiũrũrĩ tũrathe mũguĩ, no tũrĩ arathime. Kenda Mũiyũru nĩ mwatũhe mĩhĩrĩga kenda. Ihinda ritũ nĩ ikinyu, rũciũ nĩ tũgũthiĩ rũgendo rũngĩ, tũrorete kĩrĩma harĩa twoimire, kĩrĩma kĩrĩa ona inyuĩ mwambatire rĩmwe na mũgĩcoka, no twaga gũcoka ngũmũtigĩra ciugo ici. Mũtikanjarie waganu-inĩ, mũtikanjarie ũtunyani-inĩ, mũtikanjarie ũgũta-inĩ, mũtikanjarie ũnũhu-inĩ, mũtikanjarie rũmena-inĩ, mũtikanjarie mbara-inĩ itarĩ kĩene, mũtikanjarie thakame-inĩ ya ũnũhu, amu rĩtwa rĩakwa ti rĩa kũgwetagwo nĩ tũnua tũraharĩria gwĩka waganu. Ngemi ciumaga na mũciĩ.
Thank you, Dr. DeBell. Uncle Kamunya Ngũgĩ will say a few words, followed by Attorney Ngũgĩ with a poem.
Okay. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? My name is Kamunya Ngũgĩ. I'm the second one, as you can all you can tell. And my wife, Wanjiku Kamunya. My father used to refer to her as Nyaralia Kemunya. I don't know who can translate that for the non-Kikuyu speakers.
Beauty.
Oh, yeah. She asked me once, as in, what is that? I said, we'll have to consult somebody.
I think you knew that.
Well, I don't want to. Yeah, I scribbled something here. I'm going to be a little, I'll deviate from the usual tributes, and by the time I finish this, you'll understand why. I met Fafa in the 60s. That's a little joke I always tell, because I was born in the 60s. And I had an older brother who, as I grew a little older, I found him calling Ngũgĩ Fafa, so I needed to be politically correct and called him Fafa too, as in father. Now, there's a question that when you're growing up, especially in a household like ours, you always ask the question, how is it growing up with Ngũgĩ being your father? And more often than not, I didn't have an answer for that. I would probably just shrug my shoulder and say, hey, But then I thought about it a couple of days ago, and it occurred to me that it's probably different. Different in the sense that, I would look at it this way. It had disruptions. not in a bad way. And this is the reason why. I remember in the 60s, late 60s, I believe, my father and my mother had to go overseas. And my brothers, I think Dosho and my older brother, Dosho is my follower. We went to live with my maternal grandmother. That was the first disruption. Just before I started getting used to the freedom of being around my grandmother, my brother Dosho would wake up and decide he doesn't want to go to school. I mean, grandmothers, just like they are grandmothers, would say, well, if you don't feel like it, just stay home. But before we got used to now staying with my grandmother, my dad returned with my mother, and they came with somebody else, and that's my younger brother. So I'm looking at this fat, small-looking thing, and I'm told that's my brother. But before that, there's something interesting that happened. My grandmother decided that my brother and I, my older brother and I, should relocate to a different school. And once we relocated to that school, our names kind of changed a little bit, in the sense that there was a name that was added. And this is the reason why. This school was ran by Europeans. Now, my grandmother didn't speak much English, or actually even that little. So they were using a translator to tell my grandmother what is the requirements. Now, and I think in the translation, there's something that got lost. And my grandmother thought that the European head of school is saying that these kids will only be admitted if they have a first name. Now, this first name, for those who grew up in Kenya in the 60s and 70s, meant an English name. So my grandmother, quick on her feet, she was something else. She thought of the first names of our grandfathers. Now, my brother Thiong'o is named after my paternal grandfather. So he was given, my grandmother said, this is so-and-so of so-and-so. And I'm named after my maternal grandfather, so my grandmother quickly said, and this is just to make sure that we get enrolled. But I think what the head teacher actually meant was, oh, that's strange, they should have first name, but the translator said, which means they must have an English name. So we did join the school, and they started calling us with the new names. Now here comes this father of ours, and he finds his sons with strange names. Now, I was 7 years old. What does a name mean to me, really? Either 6 or 7. It really didn't mean much. So he called us once. He had this little, he had this little room that he had transformed to an office now when he came back from overseas. And I think they had spent like a year or two or something. I can't remember. But he called us into this little office and told us to write our names. I'm 6 years old, or 7. But my brother, and I think he read the body language. I want to write my name as fast as I can and get out and go play. I think he realized and he saw the body language. And now when I look back, and I don't think he was really happy. So when I was about to write my grandfather's name and then mine, my brother quickly wrote my name as in Ngũgĩ, and his when my father was not looking, and gave it to him. I still pay that debt to this day. But then everything, was normal again. We have a father and mother in the house. There was, of course, now books and more books. You read a book, you finish it. He will ask you whether you've read it. Have you finished? And one thing you wouldn't do, you wouldn't lie to him because he might ask you a question. For some reason, I used to think he would secretly read the books, although they were kid books, and knew all the characters. So I'd make sure that I read the books. He would ask you what you think about a certain character. And that became the culture. Now, my brothers, some of my brothers and some of my sisters took up that. I didn't. I decided I don't want any letters, I want numbers. So I ran as fast as I could and took up economics. But somehow I thought I would run away from reading. I still found myself reading. But again, coming back to our lives with our father, while we were teenagers, still after he came back and everything was normal, detention came. Now, the first disruption, if you remember, was when they went overseas. Now, this is the second one. But this one was epic because it changed everything. It changed the way you related with friends. It changed the way the society looked at you. It changed the way the village life was like, to a point that some friends would avoid you because their parents had told them, I don't want you to hang out with those kids no more. And of course, the challenges of your father being in jail and you don't know where he's at. Well, just before I got used to him being in jail, he's out again. But life was different. It was never the same again. But it was good that he was home. Again, we had the two parents at home. But before we knew it, while I was sitting for my A-level exams, he was gone again. And this time into exile. My story is slightly different from my brother's because when he went into exile, I went to study somewhere else. And I never saw him for almost 21 years. So in those 21 years, of course, I discovered some things myself. Apart from a few phone calls, that is when the phones are working, we'll talk on the phone. But I never saw him till after 21 years. At that time, I'm already grown with a family. Now, one of the things that when you meet your father, the last time you saw him was when you were 18, now you're 30-something, is you try and reconnect. And when we reconnected and we became quite close, I'm a very good storyteller. I can't write a full script to save my life, but I'm a good storyteller. And he would call me to get stories. I can be pretty funny, and I knew what to make him laugh. But there's one thing that from when I was young, something that impacted me, that he told me that impacted my life, I followed it to the letter, is failure is only a chance to try and try again. Thank you.
afternoon. Muriega. I am my dad's youngest daughter. I have a little brother named Thiong'o who came after me. I am also an attorney. I recently passed the California bar exams, and I was sworn in as an attorney on May 22nd, 2025. Just 6 days before my dad passed away. I thank God that before he died, he got to see me accomplish my dream. Growing up, my dad didn't want my brother and I to get him material gifts for birthdays or Christmas. Instead, he'd ask us to do something creative, like write him a poem, or write him a story, or draw him something. I used to crochet him scarves that he wore all around the world when he was at his conferences. But this poem that I'm about to read isn't from a holiday. I was home in California after my first year of college, and I was sitting on our dining room table with my little brother and my dad, and I was very bored. So my dad suggested that I write him a poem, and I did. So the poem I'm about to read is written in dialogue format and is called Write Me a Poem by Ngũgĩ. Write me a poem, my father said. About what? I asked. Will it help if I give you a topic? Write me a poem about coffee. You love coffee, although you'll never admit it. You drink caffeine every day, and still, you ask me to go to Starbucks whenever you're bored. Write me a poem about anything, whatever comes to your head. Writing is a delicate thing, my brother said. Let me make it easy for you. I will not limit your creativity by giving you a prompt. Write me a poem about whatever you like, about tables or cups or drinking or the blanket on my head. Quick aside, he had this blue, very ugly, very old blanket that he used to put on his head when he was writing. So he was like, kind of looks like you actually, but with a blanket. Write me a poem about love. I love you. I love you like the sky loves rain, like a werewolf loves the moon, like a bee loves honey, like my skin loves the sun, like a child loves their parent. A beautiful and strange kind of love, a complex and interconnected kind of love. Write me a poem about finding the extraordinary in the ordinary. You were always quite good at that. In the midst of a dead forest, you would see not miles of dead shrub and wretched earth, but the small, surviving fruit of a cactus that thrives in heat. Not destruction, but life and creation in chaos. In dreams, you tell me stories of paupers who lived and loved like kings and queens. Because they understood the power of hope and imagination. Sometimes I think you have superpowers because you're my superhero. Just write me a poem. You're a wonderful writer, so good with words. Am I? I suppose I like to write. I love to read, too. You must have confidence in your abilities. Don't run away from them. I won't. I'll write you a poem. I'll write you a poem about how you like to drink coffee in the large and colorful cups you've collected from years of travel, sitting on a table wrapped in your blue fluffy blanket. I'll write you a poem about how you love to play with your kinky hair, that you never comb because you're a man and you can get away with it. I always comb my hair, my father said. I'll write you a poem about love. I love you like the sky loves rain, like a werewolf loves the moon, like a bee loves honey, like my skin loves the sun, like a child loves their parent. I love you too, my child. My brother is right. Writing is a delicate thing, much like love, and a love poem is the most delicate form of writing that I know. Thank you. I regret that my friends and I, we have to leave right now, but thank you everyone for being here to support and honor the memory of my dad. Thank you.
Please now welcome Doshawa Ngũgĩ, Executive Director of the Ngũgĩ Thiong'o Foundation and Family Spokesperson.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Are we ready to partake? Yeah. Muriyaga. Yeah. Habari zenu. I did not mean for Kwame. I think I was going to try and sing, but I think I'll pass the singing and get to a few remarks here. Thank you for being here with us, and on behalf of the Ngũgĩ family, let me express our sincere gratitude for the warmth, love, and support you have shown and given us. In the spirit of Kamere, let me say, Kamuije Koyaga Dere. In other words, many hands make work light. Your kind words, phone calls, emails, WhatsApp messages have meant the world to us, and we hope that we continue in this spirit long after we leave here, knowing that it's only we who can make the world what we imagine it to be, the reality we want it to be. Each of us is called to chip in, to lend a helping hand to one another, and to hold each other with care. Tearing someone else down does not build you up. It just leaves rubble behind. So in honoring Fafa, ours is not to smear, ours is not to hurt, ours is not to distort. We are called upon the shoulders of those who come before us. With the reverence, in a way, our Father exemplifies those tenets by grit, conviction, hard work, and deference for those who came before him. Now, when I was asked to say a few words as the Ngũgĩ family spokesperson, I struggled with finding the right angle, the right voice to celebrate this man, Ngũgĩ. Yes, I have known him all my life as a father. I've also known him as a writer and observed his incredible work ethic. I've also known him as the public intellectual, as you all do. I have also been unfortunate enough to take a class or two where his work was assigned reading and where I was expected to be an authority on all things Ngũgĩ, including, get this, including why his hair always appeared like it did. Now that is pressure. But we are here to celebrate him. It is a simple word that conjures festivities, music, song, dance, cool and the gang, celebrate good times, come on. But to celebrate does not just mean to throw a party or speak kind words and exalt someone's existence. It means to honor or praise in a way that is meaningful and evident. True celebration demands more than just lip service or empty gestures or speaking the loudest. So when we say we celebrate Fafa, we are saying we choose to honor his legacy through our actions, our choices, and how we live out the values he stood for. To us, celebrating Fafa means being deliberate, forthright, selfless, and humble. So if we work for truth, then we speak and live truth. If he gave selflessly, then we must also serve with humility. Where he fell short, we learn from it and elevate ourselves to our higher selves. If he advocated for justice, we must not be silent in the face of unfairness. Let the way we live our lives be the tribute. Let each day be an act of reflection, a living celebration of Fafa's spirit and impact. This is what Fafa wanted, to be remembered for his work, his ideas, his constructive engagement to make this world a more enjoyable space. Let his lived experiences be the wealth from which we draw strength and to build each other up. This is what he wanted. We have been fully committed to fulfilling Fafa's last wishes, not ours, his wishes, all of them. And what we have done thus far is what he instructed us to do, those of us who have been there with him. And while here, let me just say that all information and inquiries that concern the Ngũgĩ family will come from me, through me as the family spokesman, and not from any other source, just the same one. So in this spirit, let me give you an insider's view of the man, the myth, the legend, Ngũgĩ himself. Now, bear with me. I want to take you to an early morning at our house in Ghetto. I was a young boy, much younger than Kemunya here. As he said, he's a little on the older side. I was just about to turn maybe 10, 11. So Papa calls me with his usual boisterous voice. Osho. He's resting in his bedroom with my mother, Ngũgĩ, beside him in a dress with yellow flowers. And both of them, I swear, look like they are headed out on a date. He says, there's a cartoon that reminded us of you, my father says. And I can see they're fighting back laughter. Then Papa says to Mami, show him. So she flips the pages of the newspaper and points to a cartoon. In it, a little boy is whispering to his mother, we'll eat the good food when the guests leave. But the whisper is loud for the guests to hear. Now my parents are rolling in laughter. There's a certain way that laughter fills the spaces in our family. It is not forced, but it's always present, threading through our lives like a quiet song. Which reminds me of a quote, in the end, it's not the jokes we remember, it is who we laughed with. This is our family, at least most of it. Laughter lives in the everyday, it lives in our memories. Over the last few years, I have been on daily phone calls, conversations with Fafa about projects we are undertaking, some pertaining to his health, family, AI, science, language, even quantum entanglement. No, not the Jada Pinkett kind. And these discussions have given birth to projects, some old and some new. One, for example, our own individual writing projects about scholarship and school and family. Two, the Nyambura Organic Farm, a regenerative farming practice that focuses on sustainable food growing, food free from synthetic fertilizers and chemicals. And this farm is named in honor of late mother, Ngũgĩ. It is also located in our family home in Ghetto. Three, the Wanjiko Publishing House, which is based in Kameredo, which is our father's and mother's first house they bought or built together. And this will focus on publishing works written in Gikuyu, joining endeavors such as Bossy Body's work in Kiekusi, and many others on the African continent. Number four, the Ngũgĩ Family Heritage Center, which is housed at the family home in Ghetto, which will act as a research hub and house much of Fafa's work and will be run by the family trust. And then there's the Ngũgĩ Foundation, whose mission is to empower and promote African languages. Now, as we discussed and implemented these projects, I could hear the wisdom in his voice. Words that I will paraphrase to share with you today. Dosho. Speak only when your words are more beautiful than silence. Let your actions cast light on what your lips leave unspoken. Because in a world loud with noise, your quiet strength must be the loudest truth. Now, most of you know Fafa through creative works, his poetry, his academic accolades, his lectures, advocacy for African languages, his awards, the near miss with the Nobel Prize in Literature, and even perhaps that he has 14 honorary degrees. But did you know he composed music? Yes, in his 80s, my father took up piano lessons. Even as his aged fingers refused to cooperate, he stayed determined, patient, and inspired. I looked at this old man and decided, I will buy a saxophone. I bought one. My wife was, we need to watch the budget. I started watching YouTube video lessons and asking my daughter here to help me with reading some of the music notes. And my hope was that one day I would accompany him when he played, he was on the keys. But being Ngũgĩ, he did one better. So one morning he called me and with his usual banter about who has the deepest voice between us. This was a almost daily thing. So he called me and says, listen, young man, when I hear these words, I know something's up. And I can hear him shuffle to the piano. Then he says, can you hear me? Can you hear me? He asked. And in true keeping with the hip-hop generation of KRS-One, Flo Flani, Fafa had sampled a tune, an oldie, but a goodie. He had rearranged it, dropped a beat, and he was about to spit a verse. He called it Gima Hiyo. Heart of God. I will sing. Gima Hiyo, Kachumbari Naga Shubire Head. Shall we try together? 1, 2, 3. Gima Hiyo, Kachumbari Naga Shubire Head. Now, this is the funniest thing I've heard in a while. And after we had shared the laugh, it dawned on me that it was not about the verse of the song. It was about the joy that music brings. And it's quite a catchy tune. Let's sing it again. Gima Hiyo, Kachumbari Naga Shubire. Now, please note this song is not copyrighted as far as I know. So you can use it anytime you please. So, you see, Papa's house, laughter, music, and teaching all go together. And he wove them neatly like a storyteller with no need for applause, except me. He did because it meant something, because it brought us closer, because it made the world a little warmer. And I've heard it said before that great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. Let me say that again. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. In closing, let us embrace his youthful curiosity and intellectual grounding, his friendliness and his grit. This is what I'll miss: the cheerfulness, the easy conversations, the warmth tucked between stories, the laughter that lay between exile and home, between silence and song. That laughter fills the spaces in between here and there, between now and then, between 8 and 7. Thank you.
Being is one thing. Becoming aware of it is a point of arrival by an awakened consciousness, and this involves a journey. From In the Name of the Mother, Reflections on Writers and Empire, 2013. And Dean Dream will now take us through a meditative experience, bathe us in sound waves. As you may already know, Ngũgĩ saw music as a form of communication, much like language.
This is the age of prophecy. Of miracles and telepathy. The revelation of the mystery. That I am you. Now is the dawn of our awakening. Spirit is in everything. It's in the earth and the moon. It's everywhere. It's in the sun and the stars. And the love we share. Peace on earth. Peace on earth. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. I open my heart to the language of light, receiving with grace the gift of second sight. Prepare the way for the great rebirth, the co-creation of heaven on earth. Peace on earth. Peace on earth. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti Om. Om Shanti, Om Shanti, Om Shanti.
call Joki wa Ngũgĩ.
Hi, I'm Joki wa Ngũgĩ, or as Papa loved to call me, Kanaka Folita, which translates to Post with this baby. I'm gonna read a quote. We should be able to connect to our base and then connect to the world from our base. Our own bodies, our own languages, our own hair. When you want to launch a rocket into outer space, you make sure the base is very strong and solid. As African people, we must make sure our languages, our resources, the totality of our being is the base from which we launch ourselves into the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Auntie Joki. I would like to now invite Dr. Patricia Rodney from the Walter Rodney Foundation to say a few words.
Good afternoon. The Rodney family and the Walter Rodney Foundation join with people around the world in mourning the passing of Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, an unparalleled literary and cultural icon whose commitment to language, liberation, and justice reshaped the global struggle against colonial domination. His legacy is deeply personal to us, not only as a towering intellectual force, but as a cherished comrade and friend. In 1966, Walter joined the Department of History at the University of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, as a lecturer in history, and I worked with the Dar es Salaam City Council as a public health nurse. This was our first visit to the continent, and I was excited that we made the choice to live and work in Dar es Salaam during the academic year 1966-1967. Living in Tanzania changed our lives. Walter Shaka, our 3-week-old son, people thought we were crazy taking a 3-week-old baby to Africa, and Anne, our 8-year-old niece, moved into a beautiful house on Mkurshoni Road. Mathoni, the late Mathoni Mathiga, and Bud Hall lived on the same street. Mathoni was the dean of students and seemed to know everyone inside and outside of Tanzania. We soon established a close friendship and became part of her extended family. During this period, Tanzania was the most exciting country in Africa. Dar es Salaam was the center of intellectual and political discourse, and Mathoni's house was a space where many social gatherings took place. It was a Sunday afternoon in 1967 when Walter and I first met Ngũgĩ. He came to one of Mathoni's events with his host, the late Grant Comenjo, a faculty member in the literature department at the University of Dar es Salaam. Ngũgĩ at that time was a lecturer at the University of Nairobi and was at the university to meet with fellow Kenyan academics. The afternoon was filled with lively discussion, Kenyan food and drinks. What began as an afternoon of vibrant discourse quickly grew into a lifelong friendship rooted in solidarity, mutual respect, and a shared vision for African liberation. Decades later, our families reconnected in Atlanta, and Ngũgĩ's support for the Walter Rodney Foundation was immediate and unwavering. One of the most memorable moments in our history was a conversation with Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o during the 11th annual Walter Rodney Symposium in 2015, where his presence electrified our community and affirmed the enduring relevance of Rodney's vision. In a program packed with highlights, it was perhaps Ngũgĩ's impromptu birthday song, to Asha, my youngest daughter, in Kikuyu, that moved the crowd the most. Ngũgĩ was part of a small group of African scholars, including Karim Herji, who assisted us with an outline review of the 3 volumes of Walter Rodney's posthumous publications, Decolonial Marxism, Essays from the Pan-African Revolution, published by Verso Press in 2022. We were honored that he graciously and readily agreed to write the foreword, despite the short timeliness and his ongoing health challenges. Ngũgĩ states, decolonial Marxism will be an important companion to our continued learning from the same Pan-African mind that showed us clearly how Europe underdeveloped the continent, with the dimensions of race and colony added to class analysis. Rodney completes Marx. End of quote. We also began a meaningful dialogue on translating Rodney's work into African languages, an initiative that honors a core belief shared by both men, that reclaiming indigenous language is essential to cultural sovereignty and decolonialization. Though still in the planning stages, we are committed to seeing this effort through as a joint legacy project for these 2 giants of liberation thought. As we celebrate extraordinary life of Mzee Ngũgĩ, we do so with a deep sense of reverence. His words, works, and principles live on, not only through the many lives he touched, but through the ongoing work of the Ngũgĩ Thiong'o Foundation, and in the lives and movements that continue to fight for freedom. Ngũgĩ now walks among the ancestors. May his spirit continue to guide us. Rest in power, beloved brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia Rodney. The seeds of revolution are planted in the everyday struggles of ordinary people, from A Grain of Wheat. Professor Ketu Katrak, Wuka's colleague from the University of California, Irvine, recorded a poem.
My friend Ngũgĩ, Mourning His Loss, by Ketu Katrak from UC Irvine. Tuesday, May 28, an email from your daughter Mumbi. Sad news, Baba is no more. Ngũgĩ at 87, after a lifetime of courageously speaking truth to power, in fiction, dramas, essays, memoirs, prison notes, and an epic, The Perfect Nine, about his native Kikuyu culture. He takes his last breath in Atlanta, surrounded by family. I spoke to him only last week when, as always, he presented himself as, quote, very fine. No other words by this amazing wordsmith, but the rigor of dialysis thrice weekly. Once when I commiserated about entire days for dialysis, his response, quick and strong, "Oh, this machine keeps me alive." Ngũgĩ has had his brushes with near death, imprisoned for writing a play, unpalatable to Kenya's regime, attempts on his life, exile, open heart surgery. How will we navigate the world without him, asks his musician son from Kenya. And yet we must. Some losses, like my friend Ngũgĩ's, remains heavy on my heart. Despite his age, he had seemed invincible, strong like an elephant, with a sharp memory and an even sharper mind. Ngũgĩ's writings on colonialism fill entire bookshelves. Writers in politics, pen points, gun points, and dreams, and his iconic Decolonizing the Mind, where he resolved to writing only in his mother tongue, Gikuyu. Many were outraged. Ngũgĩ's lucid and rational response: if a French writer writes in French, or a German writer in German, they are simply using their mother tongues. Why should this be different for colonized Africans? Must they give up their denigrated mother tongues and their trampled upon cultures and entire ways of life? Who would read him in Gikuyu? Ngũgĩ was excited to display a photo on his office door at UC Irvine of folks gathered around a modest wooden table in his village, reading his novel, Wizard of the Crow, in Gikuyu. That was his audience. They were enough for Ngũgĩ. I recall at a conference when Ngũgĩ roundly scolded an African who made an impassioned plea that he did not know his mother tongue. Ngũgĩ responded that without time to learn his mother tongue, he was a slave. In interviews and essays, Ngũgĩ was called, quote, a language warrior. A perpetual runner-up for the Nobel Prize, Ngũgĩ declared that he had received the Nobel of the Heart from those who shared that his work had changed and at times even saved their lives. Ngũgĩ was my friend, a wise presence, open to probing politics or what may be troubling one's heart, always compassionate to student queries, his office door always open. In fact, the weekend before he passed on, 2 UC Irvine undergraduates, Chinese students, who had been so inspired by his class the previous year that they traveled to Atlanta to see him. Together, they talked and danced. I hold that image of Ngũgĩ dancing, as he did also after a successful production of his play, The Trial of the Donkey Monkey, at UCI's drama department. Now dance with the ancestors, dear Ngũgĩ. Lecture them, dear Prof, about mother tongues and songs in Gikuyu that you learned during your time in prison, where you wrote a novel, Devil on the Cross, on toilet paper. From your incarcerated cell at Kamiti Maximum Security Prison, you discovered freedom to write in Gikuyu. Last week, you gave an interview to the Associated Press. You still wanted to write a book you called, quote, Normalized Abnormality, about colonialism's lasting wounds in Africa and among Black people in Europe. Can colonial oppression ever be, quote unquote, normalized? Ngũgĩ, a stalwart voice against colonialism in Africa, had wished now to turn his incisive gaze on the United States with its normalized abnormality against Native Americans and African Americans. Rest well, my friend. I miss you terribly. Thank you.
We would now like to invite Dr. Jerry Reefer to the stage.
Good afternoon. I'm going to read a short but powerful quote from The Perfect Nine, the epic of Gikuyu and Ngũgĩ. To build calls for hard work from the one who looks to tomorrow. To destroy is easy work for one who wants to return to yesterday, like a grown person wishing to remain a child.
Thanks, Dr. Jerry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shola Nadu.
After about 30 years, randomly Jerry sent me a link on WhatsApp, and I looked, and it was the passing of the legend, and I was like, wait, I know this man. It kind of, took me back to when I was a teenager. I lived with a mentor who was trying to build me and would give me his book to read and make sense of lines and like, tell me what do you think he's trying to say and all of that. And that was a very interesting part of my life, and learning how to speak English, how to comprehend and all of that. So I'm happy to be here. I'm honored and sorry for, he did a great job.
to welcome Grace Ngũgĩ to the stage.
Hello, my name is Grace Nyambura, and I'm the wife of Joshua Ngũgĩ. My father-in-law referred to me as Dagitari. I'd like to read a quote. Our lives are a battlefield on which is fought a continuous war between the forces that are pledged to confirm our humanity and those determined to dismantle it. Those who strive to build a protective wall around it, and those who wish to pull it down, those who seek to mold it, and those committed to breaking it up. Those whose aim is to open our eyes, to make us see the light and look to tomorrow, and those who wish to lull us into closing our eyes. From Devil on the Cross, 1980.
Thank you, Auntie Grace. Let's now welcome Kwame Brigade back to the stage.
Means you're amazing people. Emoigami, atumia. Emoigami. Tawai hanini. So from the community I come from, Gikuyu, the same community that Mwalimu Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o came from, and maybe most of us. Gemi, the sound that you just heard, we normally celebrate our children when they come into this world. And I'm sure Mwalimu Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o had his 5 Gemis. For a boy child, they normally add an extra one. But it's just because it means, for instance, if there were chaos here, I think men would first try to hide women and kids, and then we sort of or try to figure out what's happening. That is the only difference, that we add 1 extra Gemi between a boy and a girl. The fact that we face trouble as we protect men. Kugo kahe kawagiro Gemi dano nakaire to Geminya, not because of anything else, but just that. So Gemi, if you feel like you want to say Gemi when it gets to that point, please do so. This is Gemi, a rendition of Stephanie. Kuredi gorone nya awe okuidetie ive tete moi hoko okire moyo menya hare gitumi wariga yutore ohe kumari upiro ehaga ekiumo tigaro kwangoro witire ire kukiro Gemi di etihero na mata okirongore limega wegirie maitari mwendene komi wewa otherema ona wemenya wimotoria dokana kue goro ono Nũngĩũkĩroranĩire nĩgũkĩaga gũtarĩ gũkĩa Noririkane atĩ nĩtũũaga na nduma rĩkaratha na ũtheri wa Ngai ĩhaga ĩkiumwo tiga gũkua ngoro wĩtie ithe twaigĩirwo kambi ya riri ũgĩtigĩrwo na mata ũkĩrongore mega wĩgirie maithori we mwende nĩkomi wĩ wa gũtherema wona wemenya we nĩũtoretie ndũkanakue twĩyũmĩrĩrie twĩyũmĩrĩrie tũtuĩkanie ayaya twĩyũmĩrĩrie nĩtũgũtuĩkania ayaya twĩyũmĩrĩrie tũtuĩkanie ayaya twĩyũmĩrĩrie tũtuĩkanie mũrũ aya githĩ tũigĩrwo kambi gũtuĩkania ũkĩrongore mega wĩgirie maithori mwende nĩkomi wĩ wa gũtherema gũtakĩrwo wĩmũtoria twĩyũmĩrĩrie tũtuĩkanie ayayaya twĩyũmĩrĩrie tũtuĩkanie ayaya twĩyũmĩrĩrie tũtuĩkanie ayaya twĩyũmĩrĩrie tũtuĩkanie Tuiro kami Gũgĩtigĩrwo na mata tũgĩtoria
Guka's dear friend and colleague, Professor Gabriel Schwab from the University of California, Irvine, will now share a few words.
We need mirrors to see our shadows, Ngũgĩ says, firmly believing that the art of living with your shadow. My voice is not back yet, but my spirit is strong. We should not let people who do not like what we are doing kill the spirit, he affirmed in the first interview after the ferocious attack on his life in Kenya, his home country, in 2004. Now, as Ngũgĩ so sadly passed into the land of shadows, how will we remember him? How will I remember him? I see him dance, frail yet passionate. I hear his deeply heartfelt laughter, feel his powers of intimacy. I recall his diplomatic wisdom at the inaugural event of the ICWT in 2002. He had asked me to co-organize with him on indigenous voices. He wanted the voice of the first people of the Americas to open the life at his center. A madman attacked Haunani Kai Trask, our speaker from Hawaii. Suddenly, Ngũgĩ walked to the drum, silencing the uproar in the room with one single powerful drum beat. Ngũgĩ was also the center of our unforgettable New Year's Eve parties at my house, always opening the performances with his first public reading of each of his new books. I also recall the many meetings at the Ngũgĩ house with Wangari Maathai, Sonia Sanchez, Ormantia Diawara, and many others. And I can still see Ngũgĩ's unbound joy when his Kenyan friends from Bakersfield walked into the door with an entire roasted pig hanging from a long stick. The Ngũgĩ family and mine became extended families to each other, spending Christmas, Thanksgiving, and birthdays together. There was no celebration without poetry, story readings, and musical performances. Both of my sons became close to Ngũgĩ, and I became close to Ngũgĩ and Thiong'o, especially after taking care of them, while Ngũgĩ and Jerry had to go back to Kenya for the trial of their attackers. Leon gave Ngũgĩ and Thiong'o guitar lessons. Ngũgĩ bought their first piano and hired Leon's piano teacher. A few years later, that same teacher gave Ngũgĩ his first piano lessons. I organized two major events for Ngũgĩ at UCI. One to counter the effects of the attack with a positive spirit, and one to celebrate Ngũgĩ's work on his 75th birthday. We hosted Angela Davis, Sonia Sanchez, Sola Lu, Kofi Coco, and Simon Ortiz. Through all these gatherings and events, what remained most constant was Ngũgĩ's indomitable spirit, his joy of life, his laughter and sense of humor. This spirit remained intact even when he faced serious health challenges. I remember the times when his house in Orange had a leak and he moved to a small apartment near Fullerton. There I visited him every day with his doctor, Chi, who treated him with acupuncture and massage and taught him to walk straight again. My upright evolution, Ngũgĩ kept joking. Now I'm a general. After treatments, we used to go out for celebratory dinners. The first thing Ngũgĩ ordered was always a cognac. And it reminded me of the days when Ngũgĩ and I had a weekly lunch at Chakras, his favorite Indian restaurant at the town center. At the end, he ordered chai tea, adding 5 heaped teaspoons of sugar. Am I supposed to avoid sugar? I asked. Oh no, he replied. My doctor said tea is fine. Before his move to Atlanta was in Laguna Beach at Mozambique, where Ngũgĩ and I had our last dance together to live music from a fantastic African band. Ngũgĩ was a man with an incredible sense of scale. His work invoked the global world and beyond, or globalactics, as he titled his relic lectures. There seemed nothing he would not have been able to write about. Recently, a distinguished French colleague referred to his book about Mata Hari. Are you sure? I asked. Doubtful I could have missed a Ngũgĩ book about my favorite style. As it turned out, my friend was referring to Mati Gari, convinced that this hero in Ngũgĩ's novel was Mata Hari. But Ngũgĩ also embraced the small things, as delighted to see a hummingbird on a flower petal as he enjoyed that chai tea. Since Ngũgĩ's move to Atlanta, we talked regularly, and he always answered my question of how he was with a joyful, I'm fine, I'm very fine. Ngũgĩ had a rare gift of friendship, and he was passionate about his students. A few days before he passed, he still performed his unforgettable dance moves for them. After he passed away, one of his friends said, "Now he is dancing with the gods." Let us embrace this image to breathe in Ngũgĩ's spirit.
Belief in yourself is more important than endless worries of what others think of you. Value yourself, and others will value you. Validation is best that comes from within. From Dreams in a Time of War, 2010.
The Trial of Dedan Kimathi was co-written in 1976 by Ngũgĩ Thiong'o and Mashele Boko, a powerful and challenging playout of the circumstances surrounding the 1956 trial of Dedan Kimathi, the celebrated Kenyan freedom hero. Oji Aguluwe played the role of Dedan Kimathi the play, which was staged at the University of California, Irvine. Please welcome Oji.
Good afternoon. This is an excerpt from the trial of Dedan Kimathi. I played Dedan Kimathi in 2014 at the University of California, Irvine. By what right dare you, a colonial judge, sit in judgment over me? Law is law. The rule of law is the basis of every civilized community. Justice is justice. Two laws, two justices. One law and one justice protects the man of property, the man of wealth, the foreign exploiter. Another law, another justice silences the poor, the hungry, our people, the jungle. The jungle of colonialism, of exploitation, for it is there that you'll find the creatures of prey feeding on the blood and bodies of those who toil, those who make the earth yield, us, those who make factories roar, those who wait and groan for a better day tomorrow. The maimed, their backs bent, sweat dripping down their shoulders, beaten, starved, despised, spat on, whipped, but refusing to be broken, waiting for a new dawn, dawn on Mount Kenya. I despise your laws and your courts. What have they done for our people? What? Protected the oppressor, licensed the murderers of the people, our people, whipped when they did not pick your tea leaves, your coffee beans, imprisoned when they refused to aya your babies and boy your houses and gardens, murdered when they didn't rickshaw your ladies and gentlemen. I recognize only one law, one court, the court and the law of those who fight against exploitation. The toilers armed to say, we demand our freedom. That's the eternal law of the oppressed. That's the eternal law of the humiliated, of the injured, the insulted. Fight, struggle, change. There is no order and law without liberty. Chain my legs, chain my hands, chain my soul, and you cry law and justice? And the law of the people bids me unchain my hands, unchain my legs, unchain my soul.
Thanks, Tanya. Sculptor, poet, writer, and academic Patika Ngũgĩ has penned a poem for his dear
family, friends, and colleagues. Ngũgĩ wa Thiong'o, my brother in exile, laughter and light. Flesh and spirit part, yet fond memories laced with wit and laughter remain. Who now will decolonize our minds? Friends, for 50 years or more, last night we spoke. I said, I'll call you tomorrow, not knowing this would be the last time our voices would tangle with each other, not knowing this was our final breath, the final shared syllable on this side of fire. We laughed once more at my obsession when I bent to pick up a twisted scrap of metal as if it was scripture. You are mad, you said. And I, as always, replied, if so, I don't want to be killed. That was us, Ngũgĩ. Not just poets, but we made men in love with freedom. You exiled by Daniel Arap Moi, and I exiled by the apartheid sirens, boots and knuckles. We carried our homelands in our bones, not in our passports. Together we turned banishment into a borderless sanctuary, a theater of language where rust sang and memory became oxygen. We shared exile, becoming two-headed snake, hissing ancestral songs of spirit. We crafted our stories, dreaming ourselves to be at home, beyond the reach of the jailer's eyes. You refused to bow to empire's alphabet. You planted Kikuyu in the dust of dispossession and watched it bloom into fire. You taught us decolonization is not theory, it is standard, it is mother tongue, it is the madness made sacred. Ngũgĩ, you have left, but now you fly through me, through every bone I've carved into testimony, every metal I've engraved. You are welded now into my spine, braided into the synapses of the people in a continent still rising. You and I, we carry the truth of our being and the spirit of our people, even when people forget. Ngũgĩ, your voice will never be silenced. It is encoded in rust. It is etched in ash. It is beaten now in the ribs of these sculptures. We warn you not with silence, not with eulogies, but with the welding torch of truth and memory. We warn you in fire, Ngũgĩ, and in that fire you light our beloved people. Now you go join the choir of ancestors who whisper revolution in mother tongues. Go, brother, carve galaxies in the bones of the beyond, and know I will carry your name like a sacred wound that sings. We celebrate you, son of the soil. We do not say goodbye. We shift states. We were and still are entangled, and we are now in superposition.
We now have a message from Dr. Charles Contalupo, followed by Jane Bosibori Obuchi.
Hello, my name is Charles Cantalupo.
I'm happy, but also sad to be joining you in celebrating the life of Ngũgĩ Thiong'o, my teacher, my colleague, my inspiration, and my friend. Today, I've decided to recall a few moments from when Ngũgĩ visited Eritrea 2 times, in 1998 and in 2000. Farewell to English for any of my writings. From now on, it is Kikuyu and Kiswahili all the way. Ngũgĩ famously stated in 1986, and he became African language's greatest hero for literature. Though not knowing then, all the way would lead him to Eritrean writing in African languages, in literature and orature, all the way back for millennia. Continual written examples, unceasing, and where the colonial languages never became the norm in literature. Early December 1998, he visited for the first time as an introduction, yet in connection with a big conference he agreed to co-chair against all odds, focused on African languages and literatures, named with the same phrase often used to brand the Eritrean War for Independence, an all but hopeless, protracted, and victorious struggle. All of those wars passed, and war even in 1998 might have passed through Ngũgĩ's mind on the Massawa beach, where he sat enthralled by the Red Sea. Other than war, what else could have kept him staring out for so long? All of the people who knew him in Massawa, and all of the people in Asmara on the street, saying hello, as if he was also their greatest writer. Or meeting the president, and perhaps the inescapably flickering visions of Kenya's president in the room too. Leaving Asmara, the drive down the escarpment through the clouds, almost 2 miles, the descent through mountains terraced with peace, and families meeting him there, embracing him as their own and in their own languages, showing him the schools they had rebuilt and the remains of their ancient farms. When he beheld the Red Sea and didn't move for a long time, did he imagine, as he would later write, himself as a bird flying among the divinities all over Africa, Egypt, Zimbabwe, Meroe, and Axum, before landing here, touching warm waters where Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad fled their persecutions to save their faiths that later changed the world? The bird he thought of as himself flew up a valley so steep and deep, the ancient Sahos said that time had begun there. And just a little further on stood Estelle, lonely, defiant, dark spike of respite in blinding sunlight. Landing, he pecked, that is, read, and the locals buzzed in amazement, seeing the bird make itself at home on the stem and deciphering the text. What did it say? Parts Sabine letters, older even than Ge'ez. Wars, the impossible, maybe, struggle, always the odds against. Then he flew north to a town called Seganet, where he found wordmongers gathered beneath vast and monumental sycamores. I was there also when Eritrean mothers under these huge sycamores saw Ngũgĩ and gave him the special bread that they baked for his coming. And when they told him to break the loaves so everyone would eat. Praise Ngũgĩ.
Now, please welcome to the stage, Tony.
It's an honor to be here. The resistance of African American people is one of the greatest stories of resistance in history. Because against all of those arduous conditions, they were able to create a new linguistic system out of which emerges spirituals, jazz, hip hop, and many other things. Thank you.
This is ladies and gentlemen, this is my tribute, a celebration of a life well lived. My name is Jenny Vosivolimarando Buchi. I joined in the celebration of the life of Professor Ngũgĩ Thiong'o, whom I fondly referred to as Papa. He was my literary dad, having taught me the dance moves of writing in African languages. I'm frustrated by the fact that I just started learning the tune of the music only for the soloist to exit the stage before he could teach me the whole song. Even so, my heart is at peace because I gave him his flowers while he could smell them. I heeded to his clarion call of writing and translating in our African languages, evidenced in the number of books that are published, original works as well as translations, including Ekekusi Nekia, meaning Ekekusi is good, Ndabasi Chingwana Chekekusi, a dictionary of Ekekusi phrasal verbs, Chingera Chabakusi, which is on Abakusi traditional songs, Romeo and Juliet, translation of Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare, Bintoni Severakani, translation of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, and the Ngũgĩ's works, Ninyo Mekeronda Take, which is I Will Marry When I Want, translation of The Upright Revolution or Why Humans Walk Upright, and The River Between. I'm very excited at Papa taking up the challenge of translating The River Between into Kikuyu, Roy Wamoyo. In my daily telephone conversations with Papa, his desire was to have publishing houses that publish writings in African languages. It was against this that he came up with Wanjiku Publishing House. Papa had a vision to set up a museum at Kamiritu. It's the prayer and desire of the Ngũgĩ Thiong'o Foundation to bring into fruition his plans. Building upon his favorite slogan, to me, inawezekana, it can be done, I hereby say, together we can make Papa's vision a reality. I will forever cherish the memories of Papa. May he live in the
Please now welcome Fabia to the stage.
Good afternoon. What a celebration for a life well served. So I find it an honor to read one of his quotes. The call for rediscovery and the resumption of language is a call for a regenerative reconnection with the millions of revolutionary tongues in Africa and the world over, demanding liberation. It is a call for the rediscovery of the real language of humankind, the language of struggle. It is the universal language underlying all speech and words of our history. Struggle. Struggle makes history. Struggle makes us. And struggle is our history, our language, and our being. That struggle begins wherever we are, in whatever we do. Then we become part of those millions whom Martin Carter once saw sleeping, not to dream, but dreaming to change the world. Thank you.
Thanks, Fabia. Let's now welcome Dr. S. Amare, Ruka's friend and colleague from the University of California, Irvine.
Thank you to the family for inviting me here to be with you today. I am going to follow my notes a little bit because I may go off and need to bring myself way back on. So inspired by so much today. And truly, Ngũgĩ represents a profound human being, a life well lived. He was such a deep listener. He was a collaborator, a friend, and he was my confidant. He was also a soulful playmate, and he was a host to many of our mutual friends. But I'm going to take us back a little bit. They were mutual friends, or they were soon to become our mutual friends. So I'm going to take us back to 2018. In this moment, I was in a place in America called Wisconsin-Madison. And I was doing a residency with a school which was bringing together many different types of people. Visual artists, musicians, even geographers. And there I was as an interdisciplinary artist in residence. And it was on exactly March the 17th, the day before my mother's birthday, that I arose with a powerful understanding. That was that I had to change my name. No longer could I go by the S that you see at the front of my name. S had to depart. And in its place, I was given the message, Ama, my Ghanaian name. The first person I contacted that morning was Ngũgĩ. I called him and I told him what I'd experienced, and that I was in the middle of this residency, and everywhere on the publicity, on the walls, was my old name, but I needed to change my name. And he said, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're doing it for the right reasons?" And he asked a very personal, probing question, which I was able to answer with assurance. And he said, "It's a beautiful name. Go on, go on, go on." So from that moment, I became known as Essa Murray. And it was a really strange thing, emailing the dean of my school, telling him that I was no longer the S. I was to be known as S. Ama Ray. Let me take you back a little bit further. When I met Ngũgĩ was 10 years before that, in 2009. It was the beginning of a conference. And that conference was critical examinations of humanitarianism in Africa. And he was the keynote that started this conference. And it was the conference that changed everything about my experience at the University of California, because it was my first week at the university. And it was across the bridge. I was in the School of the Arts, I still am, was over in social sciences. And so that's where I met my African compatriots. And Ngũgĩ was the keynote that set the terms and the tone for that very, very powerful conference. And that conference led me to seek him out like a student in office hours. I would go to his office. I would make an appointment with Barbara. We all know Barbara, right? Keeping his diary, keeping him moving. And in those moments, he would talk about the work he was working on. He explained to me the nature of his name, what it meant, how he carried his father's name. And he revealed some time ago that he had almost missed a plane because he was so deeply immersed in writing. That nature, that power, that ability to conjure, that imagination so full. At the time, I was also working on my own PhD. Yeah, the kind of thing you're doing when you're also pursuing tenure, right? So my PhD was at the University of Surrey in the UK. So we shared another version of history, which was the British. I knew nothing of the British history in Kenya. I am ashamed to say. I knew nothing. And so what was revealed to me over time that then led on to our collaboration, the trial of Dedan Kimathi, changed again my life, my sense of agency and responsibility to speak and seek truth. Everyone has talked about Ngũgĩ likes to dance. The truth is that when you dance, the truth is you feel better. Can everybody do this with me? Let's go, everybody. Let's stand. Let's stand. Let's stand. Let's stand. Let's go. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. brain is connected to your heart, and your heart is connected to your gut. There's neural activity going on all the way through your body. So your mind is mapped all over your body. Ngũgĩ knew this. 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 That's right. So when they tell you there's a mind-body split, that's their story. There's no such thing. 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 There's so many more episodes I could tell you, but maybe I need to write them down. Write them down. Write them down. Write them down. Yes. But there is one more. And I've got to find it. There's one more. And that's a little bit about Bossy Bora. Because one thing that Ngũgĩ did, he saw me as a networker, a connector. I think that's one of my superpowers, connecting. And so he connected me with Bossy Bora because he knows that she is his dream, right? And the future of all of our worlds is connected. Don't you feel better now? Yeah. Ngũgĩ is present. Ngũgĩ is present. So with that said, Bossy Bora connected with another person in another network that I co-created. So at UCI, Ngũgĩ and I started ACRE, the Africana Institute for Creativity, Recognition and Elevation. And that led on to the development of AI for Africa. And within that group, there are practitioners, all kinds of theory folk, and data scientists, and lawmakers looking at AI from an African-centered space. And there are people that are engaged in language translation from African language to African language. And Ngũgĩ came to one of our meetings and gave us his assent to go forth and multiply. So I just want to share that moment. And thank you all for bringing
Thank you, Dr. S. Amare. We'd now like to welcome Kwame back to the stage. Never mind, not Kwame. We would like to welcome Gana to the stage.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Gratitude is on our lips with every word we speak. Gratitude is on the palms of our hands as we serve. Gratitude is one of the calls that calls us, and we call it in our beings as we walk. So mine is to say thank you from the deepest of my soul, from everybody. On behalf of the entire Ngũgĩ family, I want to thank you all for coming here today. And those of you who joined us online, thank you, and thank you again. To Dr. Jerry Weaver, Tony Foster, Kwame Wilberg, Dr. Benjamin, Fabian Butler, thank you for your time. To Shola Emmanuel and Oge Agolwe, we are forever grateful. Gratitude is the quiet whisper of the soul. It is with the warmth of a smile, the touch of a stranger, and the calm of the river's water. I would like to take a minute to thank a few people. First, a very special thank you to our brother Thiong'o for holding it down in Kenya. You have been an example of quiet strength. We will be seeing you soon, brother. For those of you who have sent messages of solidarity, the poems, the videos, the letters, and shared your moments with Fafa, we thank you. A heartfelt thank you to the East African Educational Publishers and the Nairobi University, which will be hosting a celebration of Fafa on June 20th. And to the University of California, Irvine, for the celebrations to be held November 10th. There are so many of you, groups, individuals, book clubs, and prayer warriors who have already held or organized events in some parts of the world and have shared some of their reflections with us. We thank you. There is one person we would like, as a family, to thank. He has been with us throughout, guiding and holding the light to the darkness. Kwame, thank you so much. You have become part of the family. You are our brother as we speak. Lastly, I would like to ask each and every one of you to take a moment to think of a word, any word that you have wanted someone to say to you, a word that you know you've needed, you need, will need tomorrow, you need to hear. Take the word, let it hold you, keep you going for today and tomorrow. Fafa used to say, kahora, kahora, tohorere. Ikinya, wa ikinya, tokinye. Wa maido, tiwaru yomi. Negado, and good afternoon. Thank you so much.
like to now welcome Mirengo to the stage to say a quote.
Hello, everyone. I'll keep it short, as I didn't know I was going to be standing up here. What's that? So I'll just read this out. If you know all the languages of the world, and you don't know your mother tongue or the language of your culture, that is enslavement. But if you know your mother tongue or the language of your culture, and add all the other languages of the world to it, that is empowerment. And that is from my Ngũgĩ.
Thank you, Mirengo and Auntie Gendo. Please now stand for a moment of reflection with Kwame Reagan.
And just to note that, I've seen good things and I've seen bad things. But the last few minutes with Thiong'o was the best thing that, I witnessed. When he said he loved Mwenenyaga, I actually thought he just loved Mwenenyaga. At the last minute, that last time, I knew he loved it because I saw him tell me that he loved it. So for the same reason that I sang Mwenenyaga, trying to find my voice, remembering the people who fought for our Kenyan independence, remembering people who keep on fighting, like Ngũgĩ Thiong'o, the one who just departed. And for us who are now here, may the struggle be positive. Rekei twake, tondu turi aki. Tuine hamwe ithuothe. And Kimunya, the one who stood here, is one of the best guitarists, by the way. Tukuina Mwenenyaga, tuina hamwe ithuothe tondu nikio turi a Mwenenyaga. Gikuyu ni nginya tene tondu Ngũgĩ ni ritwa ria Gikuyu, Thiong'o ni ritwa ria Gikuyu. Nikio turaina rwimbo ruru na Gikuyu. Ti tondu turi a mwanya, not because we are special, but because we use the language to share with the rest. So this is Mwenenyaga, and we enjoy. Ngai mwega wimutangĩciota mwamũkĩri magongona mandwayo Ngai ũrĩ mbere tũtingĩhotwo nĩ ithuĩ tũhoyaga wendani na gĩtĩo na tha nyingĩ cia wendo wa rũrĩrĩ ũiguano wa Gĩkũyũ na mũthii mwene twakũhoya tũkonana twĩ ithuothe o kuma Ngong'u nginya Karĩma
matura Kedeo kehane gegadira Jambasiaita Nas Kama timo Moro agero kombo Jambasiaita Keruira moroli Tuatigero nege koyo na mopi Mwene nyaga twakuoya Wengai Daiwana manjono Wengai Mwene nyaga Gai no wengai Oh Wengai Kai wa maile maitono Wengai Enyaga Gai no Wengai
So the last words we had with Ngũgĩ, you know, I have a song that's called Weka Wega. Weka Wega. Do good, shall come back to you. Weka Wega. Weka Wega. Wega. So he tell me, you know, don't get pissed off. Huh? Just remember, when you do good, it comes back to you. So weka wega, niweka. Na weka uru. Gwenda gũtuĩka ota gĩthima andũ manyue maĩ na ũrĩa wothe wamakunda akagĩa thayũ. Gwenda gũtuĩka ota gĩthima andũ manyue maĩ na ũrĩa wothe wamakunda akagĩa thayũ. Peace. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the live stream.
Thank you all for joining us. Good afternoon, good night to those coming from the live stream from around the world. For the audience, we have food, refreshments, music, and dance. Enjoy.